Hey guys, it's Brennan Maynard with the Whitetails of New York. We're out here today on our family farm, standing in our cornfield. I want to talk to you guys today about corn, about planting it for deer, and if it's the right product for you. If you look around me here, we've got quite a bit of corn left on our property. I would say all of 30% or more. This year we planted about 3.5 acres on our farm, and that seems to be a good amount. It seems to be plenty for our deer pressure in our area and our local habitat. That's going to change tremendously on each and every property I go to. And then when I do my on-site consultations, it's something we talk about. What's your local deer herd like? What's the local pressure like? What's the local habitat like? That's going to tremendously change how much corn or how much food you need on your property to last the entire season. I tell every single one of my clients it's extremely important to have some food source on your property that's going to last all year long. If you do not have that food source, some destination food source that the deer can go to every single evening throughout the hunting season, you're not going to be able to influence the herd. You're not going to have consistent daylight movement on your property. It's going to be very unpredictable to hunt your deer, especially a mature buck. So the bottom line is if you don't have enough open ground on your property to plant corn and have something else off to the side that's complementing it, such as brassicas, peas, beans, oats, winter rye, clover, you need something that can complement it, something that's actually going to last the whole season, because corn is not browse tolerant. 3.5 acres, that's quite a bit of corn, and a lot of the properties I go to don't even have 3.5 acres of open ground. And going ahead and actually creating that open ground is extremely difficult. And that's not something you're going to be able to go out in the timber, cut an opening, clear it off all the stumps, and you're not going to be able to plant corn in that for quite a few years. You need to build up the soil. It takes a lot of good, high quality soil to make corn and to grow corn. We have enough open ground on our farm, luckily. I'm standing in 2 fields right now, one right here and another behind the camera, that add up to about 15 acres total of open ground. So 3.5 acres of corn is something that's easy for us to do. It allows us still to plant something next to it that complements the corn. And that gets us to our next topic here, why you can't plant just corn, solely corn, on your property. Deer need a variety, especially when it comes to a crop like corn. It is high in carbohydrates and starch. What does that mean for the deer? Yes, it gives them a lot of energy, and that's the reason they love it so much, is the taste. It's sugary, it's high in energy. However, it also can cause some issues for the deer if that's strictly what they're eating. These issues we don't really see in the native and in nature often, because the deer know their limits. They know when enough's enough, and they have balance. They balance out their diet with other forbs and forages and herbaceous growth and woody browse out in the timber. They know when enough is enough. In some extreme cases, things that we don't really witness a lot, corn can actually make a deer sick. And the reasoning for this is because of the carbohydrates. Deer are called ruminants. And the reason they're called ruminants is it's the process of how they digest their food. They have a 4-chamber stomach, just like many grass grazing animals, such as cows. The first chamber is called the rumen, hence why they're called ruminants. The second chamber is where the issues come in. It's called the reticulum. The reticulum has microorganisms in there that help deer digest their food. These microorganisms each have a profile, a specific food that they are capable of digesting. The majority of those are capable of digesting cellulose. Cellulose is a molecule that's found often in grass and other herbaceous growth. Deer are incapable of digesting this without these microorganisms. Now let's look at the worst case scenario. What can happen if a deer strictly eats corn? That's going to change the profile of these microorganisms in the reticulum. When the deer go back and they try to eat their native forbs and forages, they don't have the other microbes in there that are capable of actually digesting that cellulose, and that can cause an issue. Now, I say all this, it's not something we need to worry about, because in nature, that's not something we're going to see very often. A deer just knows their limits, but that just shows you how important it is to have another source of food on your food plots. That's why we balance it out with some brassicas, with some beans and peas and winter rye and clover. You need that balance, not only to have something that's going to last the entire season, but something that's going to balance out their diet. Deer cannot live off of corn. And I hear people saying this a lot, as far as, oh, the deer are probably bedded in the corn, they're not going to come out. That couldn't be further from the truth. They're incapable of living off of corn. In extreme high pressure situations, maybe, but they need something. They need something other than corn. They're not going to be bedded in there unless they're forced to bed in there. So the bottom line is because corn is not browse tolerant, you need to make sure that first you're establishing a high quality food that's going to last the entire season. If you have enough ground and enough open area on your property, sure, go ahead and plant corn, because let me tell you what is an awesome attractant to have on your property, especially in the month of November. The deer absolutely love it and they will be hitting it hard. But do not jeopardize your destination food source by planting it all into corn because you want it so bad. Without having a food source on your property that's going to last the whole season, you're not going to have an influence on the deer herd. You're not going to be able to raise that buck to the next age class. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Whitetails of New York. I hope you guys found this insightful, and I hope it steered you in the correct direction to realize if corn's the right product for you. Always remember, something that's going to last the entire season is much more powerful than something like corn that's only going to last you a month. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. It's what's going to help you influence your deer herd and actually direct their movement and be able to pattern a deer herd every single day throughout the hunting season. Be sure to tune in every week for more tips and tactics. And always remember, your success is our success.